An argument can be made that DPS is the least or most impactful role in Overwatch 2. With only 3 roles in the game, the deciding factor may not just be the role, but the player themselves. My name is Halzeey, and in today's video, I'm going to apprehend and dissect the DPS role, furthermore giving you a better understanding of how a DPS player should play and function within a team. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. Enjoy. In Overwatch 2, the DPS job stands for damage per second and refers to the role of characters who are primarily focused on dealing damage to enemy players and assisting your team gathering objectives. These characters typically have high damage output abilities, but lower health pools compared to tanks, while also providing less utility than a support has to offer. With the DPS role providing the most selection of heroes in the game, there is bound to be some caveats with this. Not only is there more selection, there is more counter picks, and also more matchups to understand. The hero selection screen can ultimately be one of the most critical factors in deciding the outcome of a game. Understanding what your character's identity is and how they want to play inside of a team is critical in winning games. For example, if the enemy team decides they want to play Mei and Symmetra, a great counter pick in this situation would be to play Pharah. Mei and Symmetra don't have a reliable way of dealing damage to Pharah, so in this case Pharah is able to get way more value than she normally would. So DPS matchups do exist, but what about if the enemy team has a similar type of DPS than you? Well, in that situation, you want to take a look at the overall team composition. If the enemy team has a Reinhardt, a great counter pick in this situation would be Junkrat. However, if the enemy team also has a Pharah, Junkrat might not be the best pick. In that situation, a better pick would be Bastion. He offers that shield breaking potential against Reinhardt while also being able to shoot Pharah out of the air. Being willing to switch characters in Overwatch 2 is what separates good players from great players. What I recommend for the DPS role to cover all matchups is to have 4 to 5 different characters that you're proficient with. By having 4 to 5 characters that you're good with, it allows for a wider matchup spread to be covered. If you're only good at one character, it will leave you problems if the enemy team counterpicks you, which in turn will leave you with a less chance of winning the game and climbing out of low elo. Positioning in Overwatch is important for several reasons. Good positioning can give players a better view of the battlefield, allowing them to spot enemies, identify potential threats, and react accordingly. This can also help players anticipate enemy movements and make better decisions for themselves. Now, this ties in knowing what your hero does, because if you know what your hero does and their identity, it will intrinsically tell you how you should position with the character. For example, in this clip in the background, I'm playing Tracer, and I'm always taking an angle shooting the enemy on the side. Tracer is one of those characters that's designed to be disruptive and very annoying for the enemy team to deal with. However, if I'm playing a character like Soldier 76, I'm more than likely going to be playing behind my tank, utilizing high grounds, and just playing that front to back team fight. I think this is a key problem that many low elo players struggle with in terms of positioning. As a DPS player, yes, it is important to identify potential threats that may come your way and threaten your life, but it's also important as a DPS player you generate opportunities for your team to win the game. Now let's take a look at an example of generating an opportunity. The parameters of this clip is that I'm Genji and I'm preparing for the game-winning Nanoblade and looking for my key moment to do so. The second the Mercy used her jump, I knew it was time to engage. By the time she's done flying, I'll be in the air and ready to Nanoblade her. As Mercy is finished off, there's 2 more targets that I should also be able to mince, making light work of Cassidy and then pausing for a moment, finding the Genji in the end. While this is only one example, there's many different situations where great ultimate usage can make or break the entire game. The ultimate ability is a special, powerful ability that each hero has in Overwatch 2. The ultimate is usually a game changer, having the potential to turn the tide of a battle, and as such, critical to the team's success. On top of being very powerful and impactful abilities, some ultimates in the game are specifically designed to set up combo attacks with other heroes. Effective use of an ultimate ability can mean the difference between victory and a defeat. In terms of DPS characters often have some of the strongest ultimates in the entire game. These abilities are often high damage that can quickly take out multiple enemy players. This alone makes them critical to any team's success. For example, a well-timed ultimate from a hero such as Reaper or Genji can quickly eliminate a key target, or with the coordination of other ultimates such as Zarya's ultimate, have the capability to eliminate entire enemy teams in seconds. Effective use of these DPS ultimates can also provide a disruption in the enemy team's strategy. For example, a well-placed ultimate from a character such as Pharah has the potential to instantly kill the enemy tank and disrupt the entire team fight. Before we're even able to output any damage, it's important to understand the concept of playing your life. Since Overwatch is a 5v5 game and the characters have many different abilities and they're all very impactful, the most important thing you can do in the entire game is to play your life and just build a distraction for the enemy team. If you have bad movement and positioning, it's going to be significantly easier for the enemy team to get picks on you and overall win the game. You'll actually be surprised how much more games you win, the less you die. Some tips I can help with surviving and playing your life is to just be very evasive. And this could be the simplest things. Don't walk in a straight line, move side to side when you're fighting an enemy. Use all the potential that your kit has to offer. If you run in a straight line, it makes it very easy for people to just pick you off for free. Always be utilizing your movement keys, moving side to side, back and forth, spamming your crouch button. Don't be like these guys in the background. They're barely moving side to side. Mei is just jumping up and down, not even trying to evade. Ana just jumping up and down as well. It just makes it very easy targets. One of the last things I want to talk about is having good target selection and not wasting your cooldowns in the game. In terms of cooldowns, every single ability in this game has a purpose. And if you're used to games with abilities in Overwatch are very strong compared to others. So it's important that every time you use an ability, it actually has a purpose and what you're trying to use it for. The amount of times I see people either waste abilities, use them too early, or just not use them at all can be one of the contributing factors as to why people don't rank up. And the last very important thing I want to talk about is target selection. Your target selection, especially as a DPS player, is probably one of the most important things you can understand as a DPS. In general, it's almost always beneficial to focus the support first. The quicker you can get the supports out of the team fight will allow you to eliminate the rest of the enemies with ease. If you're playing a character that does a lot of damage, but you're just shooting a Roadhog the whole time that's healing himself, it's not really benefiting your team at all. It's crazy the amount of games you'll actually win if you have proper target selection and not just sitting there hitting the tank the entire game. I want you DPS players to try this. Consciously focus on hitting the support first in team fights. Don't just sit there mindlessly hitting whatever's in front of you. Focus on the supports and let me know the results. In lower elos, it's more than possible to climb out of them just by having good positioning and punishing your opponents for having poor positioning, in particularly the supports. If you enjoyed the video today, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can always unsubscribe at any time. Peace.